My project with the Bronte Parsonage Museum is called So Near So Far, and I work in stitch textiles and I have done for many years. And the opportunity to work with the Brontes was kind of something quite different for me. I've worked with quite a lot of museums but not such a specialist one, and I kind of felt that an opportunity to celebrate the Bronte sisters you know, in a different sort of way would be kind of really interesting for me. And also a lot of the work I do is working with local and overlooked community groups and organisations, and that kind of married well with the Bronte Parsonage's kind of remit to engage new audiences. So the plan with So Near So Far is to collect signatures of local people and stitch them into a cloth that is then going to be used to make the signatures of the three famous Bronte sisters. And we're going to do that in the landscape, so it's not going to be in the museum itself, it's going to be outside on the hills that the Brontes walked.
The Brontes themselves were kind of Renaissance women in a way. They experimented with the fictional form but also as visual artists. And you know, we really don't ever want the Bronte legacy to become staid or to become stale in any way. So inviting creatives to come in and reinterpret the Bronte legacy, to look at it with an entirely new kind of lens, is absolutely vital for the museum, for us to continue being relevant, for us to continue bringing the Brontes to the world in a different way, and in some occasions to actually attract an entirely new audience who might feel that the piece speaks to them and brings the Bronte legacy to them in a way that they might not initially have considered.
We're working with some community groups in Haworth itself, kind of bringing in people who know of the Brontes but maybe don't actually come and visit the museum. So that includes the young farmers, talking, walking groups. So people are going to be invited to come and join the project and be part of that. We're also working with an organisation called Talk English. The local group is based in Bradford, and that's a volunteer organisation that helps people to learn English who are new to the country.
All the learners, the majority of them were from South Asian backgrounds, so stitching was completely easy for them, and they came and decided to stitch their signatures and create blue plaques to commemorate themselves or their family members or somebody that they found inspiring. In terms of the history, it was something new and they were very interested in it. So when the opportunity came for them to actually go out and visit Haworth, they were all very eager.
So I'm hoping to work on the installation of the signatures with a organisation called Fields of Vision that is based in Haworth and do land art in and around the area. A lot of my work is about celebrating the sort of overlooked and ordinary in everyday society. So I kind of felt using the volunteer signatures to kind of come together and stitch into a kind of cloth that then is going to make the bigger signatures, which are the Bronte signatures, will kind of bring together the historic and the contemporary signature. The Brontes, they weren't wealthy, but they kind of, you know, did good things in their community, and I think kind of celebrating that in and around Haworth is really important for me.
I've been really interested in being a part of this workshop. When I talk to my students about women writers using pen names in the 19th century, they're fascinated by this idea that women had to choose male names or gender neutral names. So I think a project like this really makes people aware of ideas about signatures for women and what those signatures sort of symbolised in the 19th century.
It's spectacular seeing it in the landscape. That really does make it feel like that expansiveness and that whole thing of it being almost going from like a local to a global kind of a perspective, which I think is very powerful and very much like the Brontes themselves, very much local, very much involved locally, but obviously huge globally, and just feels fantastic and looks great in the landscape as well. So I think it's quite inspiring.
Seeing the size and the scale of the signatures is really lovely, and I see it as a way of kind of moving the signature cloth beyond a textile on a piece of fabric. And although the patchwork is actually the fields and the dry stone walls, the kind of link joining the names together, I kind of think it's a way of kind of re-envisaging a kind of tradition and kind of taking it forward into a new form. for me it's interesting to kind of see the three sisters' signatures, Charlotte, Emily's and Anne's names placed onto the hills that they love to walk and were inspired by.